For today's episode, as promised, we got our hands on the brand new 2017 Nissan Titan pickup truck. Now, we recently did a full and complete review on the Titan XD, which is very closely related to this, and we'll actually be talking about both the Titan and the Titan XD in this particular video. We're going to be skipping over some of the sections that we normally cover in order to give you an expanded comparison section, which is what most of you have been asking both in the previous videos and over on our Facebook page. With the new Titan family of pickup trucks, Nissan hasn't just refreshed what they've done before, they've also expanded their offerings out into areas they just haven't serviced before. Most notably, of course, that V8 diesel-powered Titan XD pickup truck, but there will also be a two-door short cab long bed version of both the Titan and the Titan XD. As you'd expect from a modern pickup truck, the front end is big and bold. We have a lot of chrome going on right here, optional LED headlamps. Our model also has fog lamps down here and tow hooks up front with parking sensors integrated into the front bumper. You can get your Titan or your Titan XD in a variety of different trims. One of them is the Pro 4X off-road trim that gets a slightly different front end treatment. We're in the very top of the line model, so we also get some unique touches like a different color to this grille right here and of course the LED headlamps themselves. Comparing pickup trucks can be a little bit tricky because there are so many different ways you can get your pickup truck in America configured. The big three American brands have a variety of different cab lengths, different bed lengths, different engines, different suspensions, etc. And those all affect the overall length of the vehicle. Up until this point, the Japanese truck manufacturers haven't attempted to compete in the larger segment overall. They've been trying to pick off the average buyer in this segment. But things are a little bit different for the 2017 Nissan Titan because we now get 3 different beds, we get 2 different cabs, and of course we get 2 completely different frames available in the Titan. The base model is not available for sale yet, but it will be very shortly, and that will be the 3-seat, 2-door cab with an 8-foot bed behind it. Then we have this model we see here, which is the 4-door crew cab with a 5.5-foot bed. Then we step up into the Titan XD, which again starts with a 2-door, 3-seat cab and an 8-foot bed, and then you can option up into a crew cab like this with a 6.5-foot bed in the back. So there's no way to get a Titan like this at this time with a 6.5-foot bed. You do have to get the Titan XD if you want that slightly extra short bed length and the larger cab. That means that this Titan is actually a little bit shorter than the Titan XD, but the 2 different versions of the Titan with the regular cab are actually the same length. So Titan XD and Titan in the 2-door, 3-seat version with the 8-foot bed, those are both the same overall length. Aside from the badging on the exterior of the vehicle that says Titan XD, the other big way to tell the difference between the two is the overall height of the vehicle, because the Titan XD again uses a completely different, much stronger frame, and that means that the vehicle is a little bit higher off the ground. Now the cab is identical between the 2 vehicles, inside and outside. The rear end looks like your pretty typical American pickup truck. We have tail lamp modules that are just on the body. We have a tailgate that is both damped to make it open a little bit easier and assisted on the close to make it easier to close with just one hand. We have a 2-inch receiver down there in our model and a 7-pin and a 4-pin trailer wiring harness connector right there as well. The Titan XD can be had with an integrated gooseneck package right there into the bed as well. If you want a V6 under the hood of your Titan, you're going to have to wait till the 2017 calendar year. At this time, this vehicle is V8 only. We do expect that V6 to be somewhere between 3.7 and 4 liters, and it should produce right around 300 horsepower, just like most of the competition in this segment. For the moment, the only engine on offer in the Titan is the 5.6-liter V8 engine that's brand new. This features direct injection, as well as a number of other fuel-saving technologies, and it's mated to a 7-speed automatic transmission. Although the displacement is the same as the last generation Titan, this engine has actually been completely revised in order to give us better fuel economy. This is the same engine you find under the hood of the Infiniti QX80, more or less. We also find the same 7-speed automatic transmission that we see in that large Infiniti SUV. In the Titan XD, we get the same 5.6-liter V8 standard, but we have the option of getting a 5-liter Cummins turbo diesel V8. That particular engine produces 310 horsepower and 555 pound-feet of torque. Instead of the 7-speed automatic transmission, it uses a heavy-duty Aisin 6-speed automatic transmission, and 4-wheel drive is of course available on all models. When comparing payload and towing capacities in this segment, it's important that you think of the Titan and the Titan XD as really the same model. Consider the Titan XD the maximum payload and maximum towing trim of the Titan itself, because it's really not quite as separate of a model as, for instance, the Ford Super Duty lineup versus the Ford F-150, and it really shows in the payload and towing numbers. The lowest payload capacity is the model we're taking a look at right here, just under 1,300 pounds. The highest payload capacity would be in the XD with the 8-foot bed and the 2-door cab, 2,910 pounds over there. Lowest towing capacity, 9,390 pounds. Of course, there is no V6 option at this time in the Titan, so that is the V8 under the hood. Highest towing capacity would be 12,640, and that would be with the XD trim. Front seat comfort comes in at 9 out of 10 points for me. These seats are incredibly comfortable for this segment. They offer some of the same zero-gravity technology that we've seen in other Nissan seats of the past. We also have a power tilt telescopic steering column. However, these seats are not quite as adjustable as some of the other seats in this particular segment. We don't find four-way adjustable lumbar support. You won't find the massaging features that you do find in the Ford F-150. We don't have power adjustable pedals either. Now, for my body shape, I really didn't mind the lack of power adjustable pedals or the lack of the four-way lumbar support because this is hitting me in exactly the right spot in my back. However, if you're taller or shorter than me, then those may be important features that this is lacking. As you'd expect from a large pickup truck, the rear seats are large and accommodating. I still have about 7 inches of legroom left and about 3 inches of headroom. I have a very similar amount of legroom and headroom when moving over to the middle seat as well. The rear bench is also very wide, making it much easier for 3 adults to sit across the back. The rear seats move in a variety of different ways. You can actually pull this and fold the rear seats forward like that and put things right there on the seat back. It's also how you access the top tether anchor back there for child seats. Or you can lift the seat bottom up and it latches into place. With the seat bottom folded up, we have access to the grocery bag holders and we can access the underseat storage area. We can flip this up, have access to the storage area with dividers, or fold it down and then extend this portion to put luggage right on top of there and make it flat. The overall design of the dashboard is very similar to other American pickup trucks. It's very sectioned off into a driver's section, a center section, and then a passenger section where we find the large glove compartment. Center channel speaker right up here in our top end trim. We also have the optional touchscreen infotainment and navigation system. This is very similar to what we see in other Nissan products, and it also offers the ability to see a 360-degree camera view. Dual zone climate control below that, and the controls for the parking sensors, heated seats, blind spot monitoring, etc. Below that, we find the controls for the four-wheel drive system. We also have the integrated trailer brake controller if you select that option, USB input, 12-volt power outlet, and then controls for the heated and ventilated seats. Very much like other pickup trucks, we have a lot of center console storage and 2 very large cup holders. If you want to know more about this interior, then check out one of the other Titan videos. We'll go into greater detail about that in those. Performance figures in pickup trucks are particularly tricky to talk about because there are so many different varieties of truck out there. You can get, again, this in a variety of different bed combinations, cab combinations. The American pickup trucks also offer a variety of different V8 engine options, transmission options, rear axle ratio options, and tire and wheel options. All of those things will affect your 0 to 60 time. That said, however, we ran from 0 to 60 in this particular model, which again is the top end trim 4x4 Titan, in 7.2 seconds. This ran from 0 to 60 notably faster than the Toyota Tundra or the Chevy Silverado with the 5.3-liter V8. Of course, General Motors offers an 8-speed automatic transmission and 6.2-liter V8 engine in that Silverado as well, and that will definitely be faster than this Titan. Braking scores in the Titan were excellent. This ran from 60 to 0 in 132 feet, which is definitely shorter than most of the entries in this segment except for the F-150. All of the other pickup trucks took just a little bit longer in the forms that we tested them on Alex on Auto. So again, keep in mind tire variations, drivetrain variations, cab variations, bed variations, those will all affect all of these scores, especially acceleration and braking. The shorter distance in the Ford F-150 is again due to its lightweight aluminum construction. The more weight you remove from a vehicle, the faster it's going to go and the quicker it's going to stop. When it comes to handling, the Titan feels very confident out here on these winding mountain roads, but I'm going to give this a B because I think that the F-150 and the Ram 1500 feel just a little bit more civilized out here. This is approximately equal to the Chevy Silverado 1500 the last time we tested it. Between the Titan and the Titan XD, there are some major changes to the steering rack. So the steering feels an awful lot more communicative in the regular Titan than in the Titan XD. The reason for that is that the Titan XD uses a steering rack that is more similar to their full-size Nissan NV cargo van, and that unit is designed for heavier duty operations. So if you're towing heavy loads every day or you're just mudding around the farm, that steering rack is going to be more durable than what we find in this one, but it gives up an awful lot of the steering feel. Handling is another area where this is largely similar to the other half-ton trucks on sale in America, because the general design of the suspension, the tire sizes, etc., they're all very similar to the competition. When you push the Titan hard in the corners, the traction and stability control kicks in a very predictable fashion, but it doesn't loose the reins quite as quickly as some of the competition. So it does feel like the car is really trying to control things just a bit more than some of the competition. Out on gravel roads, the Titan soaks up the larger bumps and ruts just as well as any pickup truck out there, which is to say it's a relatively soft ride compared to, for instance, your average crossover. It's because this is a lot heavier. Now, if you want the softest and cushiest ride in this particular segment, that would be the Ram 1500 with either the optional air suspension or the standard coil spring suspension in the rear. The suspension in the Ram 1500 is pretty unusual in the pickup truck segment. All the other pickup trucks use leaf springs just like this Titan does. Cabin noise came in at 72 decibels at 50 miles an hour, so this is going to get an A- because this is a little bit louder than the Chevy Silverado. The brand new Chevy pickup trucks, even when they're operating in 4-cylinder mode, are easily some of the quietest vehicles in this segment. Fuel economy in a vehicle that is this large with a V8 engine that is this large is never going to be stellar. We've been averaging about 15 miles per gallon. That's quite similar to what we saw in the Ford F-150 or the Ram 1500, depending on the configuration. It's also quite similar to what we saw in the Toyota Tundra. This is, on the other hand, notably lower than the Chevy Silverado. In similar driving situations, the 5.3-liter engine or even the 6.2-liter V8 engine in the Silverado got better fuel economy than this Tundra. GM really has a very fuel-efficient engine and transmission combo in their latest half-ton pickup trucks, and it really shows. However, this Titan is a significant improvement over the previous generation Titan. The previous generation Titan has struggled to get 14 miles per gallon, even if you were driving it gently. This is definitely a big improvement. The primary reason for the big improvement in acceleration and fuel economy is this brand new 7-speed automatic transmission, which has both a lower first gear and a taller final gear than the previous 5-speed. That means this gets off the line faster to give you a better 0 to 60, especially a better 0 to 30 time than the previous generation Titan, but that final gear being taller also helps give you better fuel economy, especially out on the highway. Thanks to the massive amount of torque we get from this engine, this transmission can also afford to loaf around in those taller gears a lot more of the time. When choosing between the Titan and the Titan XD, the biggest difference that you will notice out on the road is how much heavier the XD feels. And it doesn't just feel heavier, it is actually heavier. Depending on the configuration, it can be almost a ton heavier than the version that we're driving right here. And that has a big impact on acceleration, on braking, on handling, on the ride, etc. In order to give you that high payload and high towing capacity, they also have to firm up the suspension, especially in the rear of the vehicle, and that really has a negative impact on the ride. In addition to the overall handling feel and the overall handling ability, fuel economy in the Titan XD takes a serious hit, of course because of that extra weight. Why then does the Titan XD exist? It's all about towing, because a heavier tow vehicle is going to feel like it's pushed around an awful lot less compared to this Titan. For instance, if you were to put a 9,500-pound trailer on this Titan versus putting it on the Titan XD, this would feel like it's being pushed around the road an awful lot more than the XD. If you go on over to the Titan XD video, you'll notice that I towed a 4,000-pound car on a trailer that weighed approximately 2,500 pounds, and that vehicle towed it like it wasn't even there. There was definitely no pushing around to the tow vehicle, no squirrely feelings out on the road, and it really made the vehicle sway an awful lot less out on the highway. That's what the Titan XD is all about. Towing capacities are not going to be that much higher than something like a Chevy Silverado 1500 with the 6.2-liter V8 engine. However, the way the vehicle feels while it's towing is definitely going to be superior than that Chevy Silverado. It's going to feel like it's being pushed around an awful lot less, etc. However, the Silverado 1500 and this regular Titan, they're going to feel very similar when towing a trailer of equal weight. When you take a look at the pricing chart on the side of your screen, it's important to remember that we don't know the price of the V6 engine option that is upcoming in the Titan or the price of the two-door cab version that has the long bed. So what you're taking a look at here is the crew cab V8 short bed base price. $34,780 is one of the lowest prices in this segment for a comparably equipped pickup truck. Of course, Nissan also includes the longest standard warranty in this segment at the moment. As is typical for Nissan, stepping up from the S trim to the SV trim adds a decent amount of standard equipment. That's a jump that I would definitely recommend. Then we move on over to the Pro 4X version of the Titan pickup truck for $45,020. In addition to off-road styling and skid plates, which we see in other off-road pickup trucks, we also get an electronic locking rear differential, an upgraded suspension, and of course, off-road tires. If you want leather seats in your pickup truck, you will have to step up to the SL trim. Then, of course, we get the top-end Platinum Reserve trim, which is the one that we've been driving. That's just over $52,000. As I said before, we really do need to talk about the Titan XD and the Titan at the same time. The XD will cost you about $1,500 extra. The reason for that is that it shares the same cab as the Titan. The trim levels are also essentially the same one vehicle to the other. The only real difference is the heavy-duty frame underneath the cab and, of course, the slightly different bed that we get in the crew cab version. The price tag from stepping up from the Titan to the Titan XD is really not that far off what we see in the Ford F-150 to go up to its maximum payload package. Maximum Payload package in the Ford F-150 does basically the same thing. They actually swap out a new frame under the vehicle and they leave the cab the same as the regular F-150. If you want to get the 5-liter Cummins turbo diesel and the heavy-duty Aisin 6-speed automatic transmission in the Titan, the XD is the only version in which that will happen. And of course, you're going to pay a reasonable amount for that Cummins turbo diesel engine. However, the premium between the gasoline V8 and the diesel V8 in the Nissan Titan is actually much smaller than the jump from gasoline to diesel engines in the 3/4-ton pickup truck segment. Speaking of engines, let's now talk about how the engines in the competition align with what we see in the Nissan Titan. Because the Titan does not have a base V6 engine at this time, the chart that you're seeing on the side of your screen contains the V8 competition. I know that sounds a little bit funny when you take a look at the Ford F-150 and you see the 2.7 and 3.5 liter turbocharged V6 engines over there. The reason they're on that chart is because they are actually V8 replacement engines as far as Ford is concerned. Rated at 390 horsepower and 394 pound-feet of torque, the 5.6 liter Nissan engine slots somewhere in between some of the competition's offerings. When you take a look at the fuel economy chart on the side of your screen, some of the models have asterisks. The reason those have asterisks is because those are 2016 fuel economy numbers. The rest are 2017 fuel economy numbers. And for 2017, most vehicles have taken at least a 1 mile per gallon hit. Over on the Ram 1500, you'll notice that the 5.7 liter V8 engine is now rated for 17 miles per gallon. The 3 liter turbo diesel has not been rated for 2017 yet, but it averaged 23 in the EPA tests. The reason I'm including the 2017 numbers in this chart, of course, is because the Titan is rated only for the 2017 model year, so I'm trying to be as fair as possible. The 5.6 liter V8 engine in the Titan now comes in at 18 miles per gallon, which is actually one of the more efficient engines in this segment. However, I will say that the Silverado 5.3 liter V8 engine does beat it by 1 mile per gallon. The Ford F-150 has yet to be rated for 2017, and I do expect to see those numbers drop about 1 mile per gallon at least. We had troubles getting the claimed fuel economy numbers the last time we drove the F-150. Of course, the harder you drive a turbocharged engine, the more fuel it's going to consume because you're getting all that power out of it. But the other thing that a lot of people fail to realize is that modern turbocharged engines will also dump excess fuel into the cylinder in order to cool the cylinder down. And we definitely see that in the Ford F-150 when towing. So when you're towing with the F-150, your fuel economy will actually start dropping below some of these other V8 engines because the engine computer is actually trying to keep the cylinders cool. The twin-turbo engines in the F-150 have a very diesel-like torque curve. They have an incredible amount of pull. However, there is a price to be paid, and that price is paid at the pump. Towing can be a tricky thing to talk about, but let's dive right on in anyway. If you take a look at the chart on the side of your screen, you'll notice there are two different entries for the Ram 1500. That's because if you get the Sport trim of the Ram 1500, also known as the RT trim, then it does drop the towing capacity down to 5,500 pounds. Other than that, most of the trucks in this segment start right around 7,000 pounds of towing capacity, go right on up to about 10 to 12,000 pounds. The Nissan Titan, on the other hand, starts about a full ton higher than the other trucks in this segment. On the other end of the scale, which is maximum towing capacity, most of these trucks top out just over 12,000 pounds. Everybody tops out over 10,000 pounds. Of course, optional equipment may be required to get up to that top-end towing capacity. Of course, being able to tow over 10,000 pounds, especially in this particular pickup truck segment, is not really going to be a huge selling point in my mind. The reason for that is that a large number of states restrict the amount of towing that you can do with a traditional Class C license. In California, for instance, you can only conventionally tow 10,000 pounds without a commercial or a non-commercial Class A license, and the fines in some states can be quite hefty. Some of the states out there don't use a strict trailer weight rating like California and some of the other states do. Instead, they use a combined weight rating. So the truck's GVWR and the trailer's gross trailer weight rating together cannot exceed a particular number. Sometimes that can be 15,000 pounds, sometimes it can be 16 or 20,000 pounds. You have to check your local state laws before you take a look at this chart and say, hey, I can tow 12,000 pounds. Your truck might be able to do it, but you may not legally be able to do it in your state. Before we dive into specific comparisons, let's talk about how the Titan's MSRP lines up with the competition. Again, keep in mind that the gasoline V8 engine is standard in the Titan at this time, as is the 4-door cab and short bed. At $34,780, it may appear that the Titan is more expensive than the competition unless you keep that all in mind. Because the Chevy Silverado, for instance, starts at $27,185, but by the time you add the 5.3 liter V8 engine to the Silverado and the same cab that we see standard in the Titan, it ends up being about $4,000 more expensive. The Ford F-150 starts at $26,540, one of the least expensive entries in this segment, and Ford's pricing is very aggressive. You can get a 2.7 liter twin-turbo V6 comparably equipped to the Titan, same bed, etc., for just about the same price as the Titan. However, the Titan will tow more, and that's why I'm showing the 3.5-liter twin-turbo price here on this screen. Over on the Ram 1500 side, pricing is very aggressive because Chrysler does offer the tradesman trim of the Ram 1500, and that's what's $34,900 comparably equipped to the Titan. However, it is lacking a few features that you see in the Titan even at its low base price. In terms of capability, most models of the Tundra align very well with the regular version of the Titan. Titan's payload starts right around 1,300 pounds. Lowest payload in the Tundra is about 1,400 pounds. But the Tundra tops out at just over 2,000 pounds, whereas the Titan will go up to 2,910 if you get the XD version. There is no XD version of the Tundra. Reliability has definitely been a Tundra strong point in the past. Transmissions, engines, etc., the interior, they've all been fairly reliable, but the Tundra just strikes me as just a little bit behind the times when you take a look at the other trucks. You won't find 7 or 8-speed automatic transmissions in the Tundra. The fuel economy definitely lags behind the competition as well. The Titan's big win versus the Tundra is the price tag, because the Nissan will cost you significantly less and it has a much longer warranty. So although the Titan has been a little bit less reliable than the Tundra overall, the new longer warranty really should level the playing field for the average buyer over about 100,000 miles. Now let's move on to the Ford F-150. The F-150's payload is fairly high in this segment. A lot of that has to do with the aluminum-intensive construction of the F-150. The more weight you pull out of a vehicle, the more you can put back in terms of payload or towing capacity, and that's really what we see in the F-150. It has a very, very high max payload ability of 3,270 pounds when properly equipped. The when properly equipped thing is important to keep in mind in the pickup truck segment. The Titan's payload runs from 1,300 pounds to 2,910 pounds, and some people out there tend to think that the top-end trucks have the best payload ability, and that's not necessarily true, because the luxury-oriented trucks often have lower payload capacities in order to account for all the weight that's been added for all the luxury gadgets, gizmos, the up-level tires and wheel packages, etc. All that actually tends to drop your payload capacity, so the one we were driving was the lowest at around 1,300 pounds. Of course, you can get the Ford payload down to about 1,400 pounds if you do the same thing in your Ford F-150, but for the average buyer in this segment, similar configurations, the payload ability in the F-150 is going to be about 300 to 400 pounds higher than we see in the Nissan Titan. Ford has priced the F-150 very aggressively. If you're an occasional tower, then you can get the 2.7-liter V6 engine, the twin turbos, less than you can a comparable Titan. The fuel economy will be a little bit better than the Titan in normal driving situations. It should be about the same as the Titan, or perhaps even a little bit worse if you are towing heavy loads. You should of course keep in mind that the highest towing capacity in the 2.7-liter F-150 is actually below the lowest towing capacity in the Titan. That's why I put the 3.5-liter V6 engine as the comparable engine for the F-150. Of course, the 3.5-liter engine in the F-150 is going to be considerably more powerful than the Titan, but the towing and payload figures are going to be a little bit closer together. The F-150 and the Titan are interesting in this segment because they're the only options that offer two different frames. Nissan calls their upgraded frame the Titan XD. Ford calls the F-150's upgraded frame just an F-150 with the heavy-duty payload package. Although the F-150's heavy-duty payload package increases the curb weight in the F-150, it does not drop the F-150 into the next weight category up. And the Titan XD, of course, has a gross vehicle weight that does not require it to be fuel economy tested because it's just about as heavy as a 3/4-ton pickup truck. If you're a luxury truck shopper, you should know that although there is that Platinum Reserve trim of the Titan, you're going to find an awful lot more luxury features in the F-150, like the massaging seats, the anti-fatigue seat bottoms, etc., that you just don't find in the Titan. Next up, we get the Ram 1500, which has some of the lower payload capacities in this segment. It actually drops just below the Titan at around 1,260 pounds for the lowest payload model. The highest payload model of the Ram 1500 is 1,890 pounds, which is not too far off of what we see in the regular Titan. If you want Titan XD-like payload capacities in your Ram, you will have to step up to the Ram 2500 in order to get that. Most trims of the Ram 1500 seem to average around 1,500 pounds of payload. The Titan is actually a little bit higher for comparable configurations. Although the Ram 1500's towing numbers are not quite as high as the towing numbers that we see in the Titan, the way the Ram 1500 tows is superior to the Titan. The 8-speed automatic transmission is the biggest reason for that. We get very similar torque numbers and horsepower numbers out of the Ram 1500's V8 engine to the V8 engine that we see over in the Titan, but we get one extra gear and a slightly better gear ratio spread among the gears versus what we see in the Titan. The other interesting thing that we have going on in the Ram 1500 is the 3-liter turbo diesel engine. It produces a healthy amount of torque, but it doesn't produce quite as much torque as we see in the 5-liter Cummins in the Titan. Nissan and Ram are targeting very different buyers with their diesel engine. The Ram diesel engine is more of the average buyer's diesel engine. It's after a good towing experience for average towers, people that are towing maybe 5,000 to 7,000 pounds, somewhere in that range. The Cummins turbo diesel and the Aisin 6-speed automatic in the Titan XD, on the other hand, really are designed for someone that's towing 10,000 pounds all the time. Last up, we have the Chevy Silverado 1500. Its payload ranges from around 1,500 pounds to about 2,000 pounds, depending on how you have your Silverado equipped. Although the Silverado's payload does not approach the high numbers that we see in the Titan XD or even in the Ford F-150, it seems that the average model is consistently high in this particular segment. It's pretty close to the Ford F-150 in overall payload ability, definitely a little bit higher than we see in the Ram 1500. Although I'm not the biggest fan of the Silverado's styling, either on the outside or on the inside of the pickup truck, its drivetrain really is one of the more fuel efficient in this particular segment. Even though the 5.3-liter V8 engine is equipped with a 6-speed automatic at this time, not the newer 8-speed automatic that GM uses in the larger engine, it delivers excellent fuel economy. The other interesting thing about General Motors pickup trucks is that all 3 engines were designed for pickup trucks and large SUV use only. You will never find the 4.3, 5.3, or 6.2-liter engines in passenger cars or small crossovers. Although that means that General Motors is a little bit less efficient when it comes to manufacturing efficiency, it does mean that they were able to target their engines more directly at large and heavy vehicles. It's very obvious, especially when you take a look at the V6 engine in the Silverado, which has a very healthy amount of torque for a V6 in this particular segment. I know I haven't been talking about V6s, but I did want to point that particular feature out. The GM engines are interesting because they are push-rodded designs and they're designed for a lot of low-end torque, but they are still thoroughly modern because they have direct injection, variable valve timing, and cylinder deactivation. Which pickup truck is right for you depends on a variety of different factors, not the least of which includes brand allegiance. Brand allegiance is very, very strong in the pickup truck segment. If you put brand allegiance aside, there are some definite reasons to buy some of these pickup trucks over the others. The Ram 1500 is going to give you the best ride thanks to its coil springs in the back, and the diesel engine is going to give you one of the best towing experiences for moderate to light loads and one of the highest fuel economy ratings in this particular segment. Thanks to the aluminum construction we see in the F-150, performance is excellent, especially if you get the 3.5-liter twin-turbo engine. Fuel economy is also reasonably good if you can treat the F-150's accelerator pedal gently. Payload capacity is also quite high in the F-150, although there have been concerns about the durability of the aluminum bed in the F-150. I think the average person, if you put a bed liner in there, it's not really going to be that big of a problem. Most people tend not to throw concrete bricks on their F-150 from a great height. The Titan has a number of things going for it. It has that very high towing capacity, even in base models. It also has an excellent value proposition. Not only is the MSRP thousands of dollars less than the comparably equipped competition, but also the Titan has a very long warranty. And it's not just a powertrain warranty, it has a long bumper-to-bumper warranty as well. That's very different than we're seeing in the other pickup trucks in this segment. The Titan XD is also very unique because it's going to be considerably less expensive than a 3/4 ton pickup truck. It's not going to be quite as capable, but it is going to give you that superior towing ability, that superior towing feel, sort of the feel of driving a bigger truck as well, if that's something you're looking for less money. If I were shopping in this segment today, my top 2 picks would be the Nissan Titan with the 4-door cab and the short bed in SV trim, and the Ram 1500 with the 4-door cab with the EcoDiesel V6 under the hood. The V6 over there in the Ram 1500 gives you excellent fuel economy and excellent towing ability in the range between about 5,000 and 7,500 pounds. It's an excellent tow vehicle for that moderate weight towing need. The long warranty and low price tag really make it hard to go wrong with the Nissan Titan. Be sure and let me know what you think about it down there in the comment section down below. Hit that subscribe banner down at the bottom of your screen. Check out the related videos on the side of your screen, and I'll see you next week.